This is a special edition of Sideline Warning, here to discuss breaking news. Welcome into the bonus content of Sideline Warning. Here, as always, you've got the golden voice of the Southeast. I'm not going to do my normal intros. Dave Adams with you, Hollywood Ben Foster on the other side, and the presidents of the Jalen Hurts fan club, the phenomenal brother Adam Russell. Guys, we had already had the show in the can. We were ready to hit go on everything. Ben had it edited, and then all of a sudden this morning, we all got the ESPN update, 6:30 Central Time, probably 7:30 Eastern Time, that lo and behold, Urban Meyer is stepping down from his position as the head coach of the Ohio State Buckeyes, effective immediately after the Rose Bowl. Was this something that was discussed probably in that day-long meeting before the season happened, or how does this come about, guys? What's your thoughts on this?
Well, it is kind of shocking news that it's announced at this time, but then when you take a step back and think about it, it's not that surprising. There were so many signs and indications throughout the season where things were pointing to Urban Meyer's health, where he looked so discombobulated on the sidelines, and things never seemed quite right at Ohio State after the Zach Smith scandal. This isn't that surprising. The only thing that's kind of surprising is the timing to announce it, on a Tuesday, just a few days after the conference championship, and to do it with the Rose Bowl up ahead. It seems like the timing could have been different, maybe not so close to the conference championship or something along those lines. But it's not too surprising. We've known at least one thing wasn't right with Urban Meyer, but it seems like this year there were a lot of things that weren't right with Urban Meyer.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you separate Urban Meyer, the coach, from Urban Meyer, the man, I mean, knowing what he walked away from Florida, the letter from his daughter or to his daughter and all that, I think, you take what evidently is health problems he's been dealing with, you take the drama that he had to experience at the beginning of the year, and I think it summed up well. I read an article that said he actually called Mack Brown to tell him, and he asked Mack Brown, referring to his decision to go back to North Carolina, he asked him if he was crazy. I think this might have been the year that Urban got that same perspective that he got that year at Florida, that there's more to life than this, and he's ready to go live it. I mean, a cyst on the brain sounds bad, right? So, I mean, I don't know exactly what that entails, but, I mean, this is the kind of thing that would make someone do a snap to reality and decide that it's time to step away.
Adam, I want to take what you're saying at face value. I really do. But we've been down this road with Urban Meyer before, and it's been well noted on this podcast, my disdain for the man. A cyst on the brain is a big deal. I understand. Health concerns, great. But he retired from Florida for health concerns. I truly don't think this is it. I think that Urban Meyer is going to sit out a year and that he's going to just come back and he'll catch that bug. And let's be honest, we might find that he wants to be at Dallas next year. Because, I mean, that rumor was reported. So I don't think that this was retiring. I truly think that this was maybe Ohio State saying, all right, Urban, we're going to let you save face. Instead of firing you for all this black eye that you gave to the university, we'll let you retire and cite health concerns.
I've thought this for a long time, and today the blog Every Day Should Be Saturday summed it up better than I could. This is an Urban Meyer cycle. This is something he does. He goes and makes a program, a strong program, and a program that wins, and there's a ceiling on that. He can only do it for about 5 or 6 years before his health gets in the way because he's overexerting himself just to get a team into championship form. And so he's going to take a year or two off. He's going to say, this isn't something I want to keep doing. I really want to retire and focus on my health. And then in a year or two, I think we're going to be back to this cycle where he says, no, I'm feeling good. I'm back on track. I'm ready to go. And he's going to say, I'm ready to coach again. And there's going to be a position that looks really good. It may be USC. It could even be Notre Dame. That's always been his dream job. That's the kind of thing that could lure him out of retirement. And I think we'll see Urban Meyer coaching again. But I think it's going to be this cycle where it takes him a year or two to recuperate and then get back on track. But he's too good of a coach and too young in coach terms to not be able to come back and do this again.
Yeah, and I would like to think, I mean, I know we don't hold high regard for him. I would like to think that he's stepping away and that it doesn't tie back to he's stepping away to relieve himself from Ohio State to open up his options in a year or two, right? I mean, I've read that it could be Dallas, like Dave was talking about. It could be USC in 2020. I mean, it feels like, this kind of does put him in that position where he can sit back, let the carousel for the coaching carousel start to spin a little bit, and then decides when he wants to jump on when the opportune moment comes. So, I mean, I could see that. I just because I think of the significance of the health concern he shared, that's a pretty big statement to make just for it to be like, oh, I'm using that as the reason, but there's nothing else. I would like to give him the benefit of the doubt that if he's going to share something that serious, that it's for real. But, I mean, time will tell.
Time will tell. And go ahead, Ben.
There was a tweet that I sent you guys earlier today that was circulating. It was getting a lot of likes and retweets. It was from the account at TWESQ on Twitter, and the guy tweeted out, "It's wrong to mock Urban Meyer's health issues. It's perfectly acceptable to ridicule how he uses them as a PR tool to elicit sympathy when his teams underperform." And I'm not discounting that the guy's got health issues. I definitely think that's true. But I also think he's making the most of them, and at opportune times, he's bringing out information to elicit sympathy, to elicit the benefit of the doubt, and to buy time for him, his career, and his teams. And I do think that he is using them as a PR tool. And I would love to be wrong, and maybe I am wrong, but that's certainly the way it seems, because you only hear about the health issues at times when other things are going wrong. And you don't hear about the health issues. And I know you want to keep your things to yourself, but it always comes out at an opportune time. And the timing is what makes everything suspect. I'm not saying he's making this up. I'm not saying he's a hypochondriac. I totally take at face value the health concerns. But I do think he's trying to make the most of them by using them as an explanation for when the results don't go the way he's advertised them.
Yeah, and we know he has health concerns. He's not a hypochondriac. I mean, we know that's there. I mean, anybody that watched the Maryland-Ohio State game, he looked gray on the sidelines. I mean, his jacket was gray, and he looked the same color as that jacket. I'm not discounting the fact that he has health concerns. I'm discounting the fact of the timing of the situation. I think that there's something going on in the Ohio State administration, and they didn't want Urban Meyer still there. I truly want to be wrong in this situation. Like you said there, Ben, I want to be wrong. I want to think that Urban Meyer is doing this for the right reasons, but I cannot, with good conscience, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. Urban Meyer's done this before. I think he's going to do it again. I truly don't think he's retired. But let's just say that, hey, he's retired. He's done. Let's take what he says at face value right now. Where does Urban Meyer's legacy lie now?
Well, it lies as a championship-winning coach. He's one of the few coaches to win championships at more than one school. He's also one of the few coaches to win more than 2 championships. To be a 3-championship coach, especially in this day and age, is a testament to great coaching prowess. But in the same way that, it seems like he's overextended himself in his health, he also seemed to overextend himself in the Zach Smith scandal by looking the other way and perhaps being too loyal to Zach Smith's grandfather, who had ties to the Ohio State program, instead of actually having the right discipline and right control of the program necessary to do the right thing.
Yeah, I think, like you said, the number of championships, the success he had right now can stand on itself. And I think that if he does come back and go to another coaching position in a year or two and have the same thing happen, right, where he went to Florida, had success, walked away, moved to Ohio State, had success, walked away. If he goes back again, I think that's what he'll be remembered more than anything else. I think the championships would be a footnote to, well, he just kind of got a team to the point where he couldn't handle it anymore, and then he left, and then he did it again and again and again. And I think that'll be what is talked about more than his success.
Well,
It already kind of is in a way.
Adam, you've in referring to Saban, Adam, you've talked about how not having better special teams, not having better kickers, holds Saban back from being the greatest of all time. And while that would be, while kicking may sort of be the Achilles heel for Saban teams, when Urban Meyer's story is finally brought to a close, he's going to be presented as a championship coach with flaws and limitations, and those flaws and limitations are going to be presented almost on equal standing with those championships.
Let me ask you this, Ben, and Adam too. 10 years ago, we all looked at Joe Paterno as a great football coach. History will look back on him as a great football coach. He has he now has Bear Bryant's win record, blah, 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 blah. But the Jerry Sandusky case looms high over his head, and history is now going to look at Joe Pa a lot different than we would have looked at 10 years ago. 10, 15 years ago from now, will history loom over Urban Meyer the way it's looming over Joe Pa because of the Zach Smith scandal?
I think there's a while those are both scandals and both are examples of assistant coaches presenting entirely unacceptable behavior, I think the difference is, while the Zach Smith issue was a domestic issue related to one couple, one family, the Sandusky issue was on a much larger scale, and it affected innocent children. And I think, yes, this is always going to, the Zach Smith issue will always be brought up with Urban Meyer's name. I still don't think it quite rivals the Sandusky scandal in magnitude and number of victims. It certainly doesn't total in number of victims, but and that is not to make light or apologize for anything Zach Smith appears to have done. But I think the Sandusky issue is going to always be a much larger college football scandal unless we find out there's more to the Zach Smith story, which is still possible. I'm not certain that the book's closed on that one.
Yeah, I'm surprised that that story didn't have legs like I thought it would. It feels like the talk about it went away and it kind of died there. And I think part of it is that compared to some of the stuff that's gone on lately, it's not nearly as big. I don't think that will haunt him as much as it will Joe Pa. I think, like you were saying, Ben, it'll be brought up in the same sentence with the championships. I'm curious to see, with this being fluid, and while we're sitting here talking about it, I'm curious to see if maybe Urban does come back to try to run a clean program without anything like that one more time, to let that stand alone and be an example that he doesn't always have something like that happen. That might be one of his motivations for coming back. But I don't think it'll haunt him as much as it does a situation like Joe Paterno.
Adam, you said Urban running a clean program. I'm not so sure that Urban can run a clean program. When he was at Bowling Green, it wasn't the cleanest. We know how bad it was at Florida, and now look what he's done at Ohio State. I want to say that he could, but there is a pattern of messing up like that's happened. So I don't know. I don't think he could come back and run a clean program. And I was listening to somebody this morning. If you're at Ohio State and you leave, where could you go that wouldn't be a downward trajectory like Avery Johnson is right now? Where could you go? Sorry, Ben, had to get one dig in there.
Wow.
Where could you go? I mean, there's only probably 5 schools right now: Texas, Alabama, Notre Dame, USC, Clemson.
Yeah, I think you'd be looking at a USC. He said Notre Dame was his dream job. I don't know with them in the playoffs if Brian Kelly's going to be in jeopardy anytime soon. But
he might very well. It is Brian Kelly after all.
Well, that is true. That is true. He's one press conference away from being in trouble.
Yes, things could go south in South Bend very quickly.
That's true. But I think the point that you made is why I think that he might, if he does want to, come back. And that's, you just said, I don't think he can run a clean program. And I think Urban is going to sit back with this time away and realize people feel that way after what happened to Ohio State. And I think that might be one of his motivations if he does come back, is to try to do that. Now, I'm not trying to be an Urban Meyer apologist. I'm trying to give benefit of the doubt and just say what I think he's thinking. But I don't think he will. But if he did, that might be a good reason.
No, I think the issue with Urban Meyer, one of the issues with Urban Meyer, is how out of touch with reality he is. I don't think you have these type of scandals and some of these issues that you have at Ohio State and elsewhere. If this guy's not in such a bubble, that he doesn't understand how regular people react to this kind of news. And to where he thinks, oh yeah, see, I explained my health problem, that should give me a free pass. Where a regular person hears that and sees just how transparent of a cover he's trying to put out there. I think one of Urban Meyer's problems is he's just out of touch with how regular people, especially regular spectators of football, perceive the things he does. Even in press conferences where he's just talking about football, scandals and everything aside, I think Urban Meyer's just kind of an out of touch guy, and that's hard for any coach at a major football program. But I think it's especially true for Urban Meyer, and I think that's going to be his challenge. But he's going to say, "Oh yeah, I'm a few years removed from that issue. It's not an issue anymore," and that will be what he's thinking if and when he comes back.
I don't think there's an if. I think it's a win. But all right, so let's wrap this up quickly because we said this was just a quick episode and we've already gone 20 minutes but because we talk a lot. So just a quick round table. Is Urban Meyer done? Ben?
No, he'll be back in a year or two as soon as the Notre Dame job opens, and it's going to open.
All right. So you say Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Adam, is Urban Meyer done? And where, if?
Yeah, I think USC would be where he would go if he does come back. I think the odds are that he would, but if I was him, I wouldn't. Okay.
I say he's not done, but I think he shows up in the pros. I think he's ready to make that jump and go from there. So, guys, there's our Urban Meyer talk. When breaking news happens like this, we will do a quick show like this to give our thoughts and give our takes, because sometimes a week without hearing from us is too long a time. But guys, we love you. We'll see you guys next week unless something happens. And roll tide.